Welcome to Awaken, Heal, and Thrive. I'm your host, Benjamin Bernstein, and today's episode is called Can You Avoid a Dark Night of the Soul? This episode is sponsored by my book, Instant Divine Assistance, your complete guide to fast and easy spiritual awakening, healing, and more. It's a #1 bestseller and has over 60 five-star reviews on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for Instant Divine Assistance or click the link in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm your host, Benjamin Bernstein. I publish both audio and video versions of Awaken, Heal, and Thrive, so take your pick. The video version is on my YouTube channel called Benjamin Bernstein Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to Awaken, Heal, and Thrive wherever you get it. And if you have not already, be sure to click the link in the show notes for a chance to win a full year of my Awakening Plus online membership. That's a $189 value, and I announce a new winner every month. In fact, I announce our very first winner this episode, so keep your ears peeled. Okay, so how could you possibly avoid a dark night of the soul? First, what am I even talking about? A dark night of the soul is when a person has some crisis coming up in their life. It's so big that it causes them to question everything. Some people go into deep depression or anxiety, and it's like everything's up in the air. Life can lose meaning. The realities that seemed like a big deal before are being questioned, things like that. It's a big existential crisis. I've never had one. And my belief is that that's because I have been proactively doing my shadow work even when it wasn't being automatically catalyzed. And this is my thinking on how you could possibly avoid one. And I'll also be talking about some ways to work through one if you're in one. But first, how can you head it off at the pass? Well, my belief is that a dark night of the soul is a crisis event that comes when you have been neglecting critical soul work. I believe that we have a higher self. I believe that we incarnated with a mission, with a purpose. And if we don't know what that is, it's easy to drift off track. Now, your higher self is constantly trying to give you course correction, those intuitive hits you get where you just know it in your bones, you know it in your gut, your whole body says yes. Those are your higher self trying to guide you. And if you will persistently follow those, then the odds of having a dark night of the soul decrease because you're on track and don't need the big course correction. An example is an airplane on autopilot, they say, is off course about 95% of the time, but because even though it's not heading exactly toward that airport, by making all these little adjustments, it stays on track enough that there's not a big deal. But if you are way off course and you're just heading the wrong direction, then a more major course correction is needed, and that's our equivalent of a dark night of the soul. So if you're on track, then no course correction is needed, thus no major crisis. Therefore, how can you stay on track? Well, you've got to stay in tune with your inner guidance, because as much as you may believe you're on track, if you take it from a purely intellectual standpoint, you might be and you might not be. Over the years, I've asked hundreds of clients, what is your most accurate guidance? And they all say my intuition, my inner knowing. Every time I follow it, things ultimately go better. When I go against it, I get in trouble and things get messed up. So first, please try to trust that inner knowing. We all have that, and it is as good as gold once you get a true intuitive hit. It may shake things up if you've been off course, but making a voluntary course correction could forestall the big crisis. Now, there's another thing that could cause a dark night of the soul, which is unhealed shadow work. What do I mean by shadow work? This term was coined by Carl Jung many decades ago, and it means facing the inner challenges, the challenging emotions, the unpleasant things we don't want to look at. I've been reading a lot of books lately on how one of the core reasons people go into addiction. It's less about they can't get enough of the addictive substance. It's more like they just need to cover the pain. And why would you not face the pain? Because you don't know how to heal it. When you face it, it feels overwhelming. It's too painful to look at. You have no coping tools. Fortunately, there are some tools that are actually really easy. The best one I can recommend that a person can use just on their own is my healing invocation. You can learn more about that by going to astroshaman.com. On the menu bar, it says Instant Divine Assistance. If you click that, you'll see a free little course I offer that teaches you how to actually call in your own healing from your own higher self. It'll also teach you how to call in your own embodied awakening. And do the awakening first, because when you're in the awakened state, the healing is just easier. And this delegates it to your higher self. You don't have to know all the details. A lot of times there's a trauma and we've blocked it. We're actually unconscious of the details or even knowing what it is. All we know is this pain is there. But your higher self knows. And if you put it to work on healing that, just saying maximum healing that serves highest good, please, relaxing, holding attention just where it doesn't feel good. Your higher self can get in there, stir it up, flush it out. And I've had profound healings and never even knew what it was. So astonishingly, you can have a full healing and not even know the first thing about what the trauma was. If you need to know, you'll be told. You get the image or the thought about it, but you can clear things and simply never know and not have to know. So it's good to know that trauma healing can be that simple, potentially. Just call your own higher self to do it. Be willing to feel the pain, which, by the way, will never be too much under this system. I've been teaching people these invocations for over 11 years. I've taught it to thousands of people. No one has ever reported overwhelm. And there's so many other great tools. I'm also a big fan of internal family systems therapy, where if you work with someone who's knowledgeable in this modality, then you go to the wounded part, the part that got traumatized. It's all off and wounded and traumatized. You go to it, you gently hear its story. You come in as self, the part of you that is compassionate and loving, and you help unburden it through the technology of internal family systems therapy, and you reclaim it. It's like a shamanic soul retrieval dressed up as a psychological process. And there's so many other great ways too. So just know that if you don't do the shadow work, if you have these unpleasant feelings and you've yet not found a way to face them, just face them. Try the healing invocation if you don't have a tool that's already working for you. Try internal family systems therapy. Try another of the many modalities. In my book, Instant Divine Assistance, which I've already mentioned, there's a page where I list a couple of dozen modalities that all can work to do this if you don't like my tools. So just know that if you neglect the shadow work, then you might get away with it for a while, a few years. You might be able to not feel it and turn away from it and do okay, but eventually it will catch up with you, and it can eventually lead to that dark night of the soul. In my own experience, I've done nearly 300 ayahuasca and San Pedro and mushroom ceremonies. I've been doing this plant spirit work for almost 17 years now. And what happens when I go into that container is the intelligence of the plant spirit energy can see where my traumas are. My personality might be clueless. I've had so many ceremonies, I've lost count, where I went in and the medicine found, okay, you got some trauma here. You don't even know about this, but let's bring it up. And I'll spend a few difficult hours in the ceremony purging out the pain. It might not be a physical vomiting, but I'll tremble, I'll shake. I've come to get a lot of comfort recently from learning that when you do trauma healing, the body shakes, just like two ducks squawk on a lake and they both shake afterwards and then they're fine. Most of us humans don't shake after we've had a trauma. We ignore it. But in my ceremonies, I shake that stuff out and I will do whatever it takes to purge it. And because I've been proactive, I'll go into ceremony and I might feel fine. And I kind of get ahead of the curve. I go in there and the trauma that could have resulted in a dark night of the soul later gets dealt with proactively. Now, if you work with plant spirit stuff, for me, it's been fabulous, but it's not for everybody. And the invocations that are in my book and in that free course I mentioned can help you on your own to proactively have your higher self get in there, stir that stuff up. There's a specific invocation called a next in line invocation. It's kind of similar to what you might do in an ayahuasca ceremony, not as intense, obviously, but similar benefit, where you just come in and say, hey, next in line, whatever the next thing I need to heal is, let's stir it up and flush it out. I'm not telling you got to do my modality. Any modality that gets it done is great. And there's lots of modalities out there. Just find something that proactively gets in there, stirs up the old traumas, flushes them out. And as a side benefit, any good shadow work technology will awaken you. The only thing stopping you from the awakening that's already there waiting for you is these traumas and wounds that are in the way of it. So when you get proactive and you're willing to face the pain and heal it, and there's techniques like mine that are guaranteed not to overwhelm you. Yes, they might be intense. No, they won't be too much. And you can get that stuff cleared and not have to go through these big crises. And if you're already in a dark night of the soul, same solution. The shadow work technologies, whether they're mine or someone else's, can help you face and clear this stuff. So don't feel like the pain is unsolvable. If you're in an addictive spiral of some kind, whether it's a substance or a behavior or just something that you say, oh, I'm feeling that pain, I'm going to go do something else so I won't feel it right now. So just learn that I can face it safely and effectively, and I can work through it maybe even faster than I thought. It doesn't have to take years necessarily. The technologies that I offer can do things amazingly fast sometimes. And I can't guarantee a particular outcome from anyone, but I've had a lot of reports back from people that these things have cleared big stuff fast. So I'm not just trying to sell you on my technology here. I'm just giving you the principle with mine and examples. If you do the shadow work, find an effective shadow work technology, face the pain in a way that is manageable, it is guaranteed not to have overwhelm, and do whatever process works for you. So if you are not yet having a dark night of the soul, but you're realizing, yeah, I've got some pain I'm not facing, then please face it. Use the technology that works for you. And if you're already in one, even if it's not a full-on dark night of the soul, but you just have a lot of heaviness and you know that you're avoiding pain inside of you, then find a tool that works. So that's my download on how to avoid the dark night of the soul or help heal it if you're in it. I hope that's helpful. Take the best and leave the rest, of course, with anything that I or anyone else tells you. Earlier, I mentioned my #1 best-selling book, Instant Divine Assistance, Your Complete Guide to Fast and Easy Spiritual Awakening, Healing, and More. Well, that's a long title, isn't it? I'm honored to share a brief excerpt from this 5-star Amazon review from Mark J. Mann. And I honestly didn't plan this, but as it turns out, he's addressing the very thing I was just talking about in his little review here. He says, reading Benjamin's book has given me valuable insights and inspirations, techniques, and rituals to assist me in continuing to center my process of grief healing and to also allow my psyche to connect to spiritual dimensions on a daily basis. I believe that the techniques and rituals described in his book of opening inner gateways to spiritual dimensions would be accessible, easily applied, and integrated for anyone at all stages of spiritual development. I am profoundly appreciative of Benjamin for writing and sharing this book. I highly recommend Instant Divine Assistance for anyone on a spiritual journey to read and use. End quote. You can read Mark's complete review on my book's Amazon page. Right now, the ebook is only $3.99 and is included with Kindle Unlimited, and the paperback is only $12.99. Also, Awakening Plus events support your individual healing and awakening, as well as global spiritual awakening. Not a member yet? Join one of our free events. 2 calls are open to the public each month. Experience how Awakening Plus can accelerate your personal evolution. Awakening Plus is always evolving, but as of January 2023, members receive these exclusive benefits. 9 of our 11 Zoom calls each month are members only. There's an archive of over 500 life-transforming events with a best-of guide. We have 3 courses so far: Instant Divine Assistance, Fast and Easy Awakening and Healing, Self-Guided Internal Family Systems Therapy, and Your Divine Allies, Let Them Help You More. Every month, we have astrology mini readings calls, community support calls, ask us anything calls, and office hour calls. We have a members helping members service. You can connect with an accountability partner and be constantly supported by the Awakening Plus group energy field. Learn more at awakeningplus.com. That's awakeningplus.com. I mentioned at the top, we're having our very first membership winner, and this is for January, and the winner is Denise. And this is the only Denise who has submitted so far as of January 31, 2023. So Denise, if that's you, then email me, benjamin@astroshaman.com, and we will get you set up with your free 1-year membership to Awakening Plus. Congratulations. And to everybody, thanks for being here. Once again, I'm Benjamin Bernstein, and we're wrapping up. Please leave me a 5-star rating, review, or comment wherever you're getting this episode so that others can also awaken, heal, and thrive. And be sure to click the link in the show notes for your chance to win 1 free year of my Awakening Plus online membership. Thanks again for spending this time with me. I wish you infinite blessings.